Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 5 Tips and Tricks for Careers in Athletics. I'm your host, Dr. Maury Mosovitz, with my all-time most favorite, most wonderful co-host, Jen Albanese. Hey, Jen.
Hello, Maury. How are you? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the podcast.
Well, exciting things. Ruben Wright is going to be in, longtime person that worked with us, but now doing amazing things with the Cleveland Browns. And he's opening a brand new stadium as part of his role and promoting for people to get involved with what's going to be probably an amazing stadium and district once it's done being built.
Yeah, so cool. Like, he's got some really good insight, and I'm excited to catch up with him and see him. And he was such a huge asset to our team, and I'm so happy for him and his success. So it'll be really good to chat with him. So, yeah.
Well, if the stadium was open, most likely at this point, they could have been considered as a World Cup location, because right now the U.S. is hosting, which I don't remember ever when the last time the U.S. hosted the World Cup.
I don't know. Probably, if anything, when we were really young and we wouldn't remember it. But
I don't remember. And this is so cool that it's just throughout the United States and all these huge major stadiums. So it's going to be pretty amazing to see what's happening and have it right here in our backyards.
I know. I mean, it's so close. It's like 4 hours. I mean, Syracuse obviously is centrally located on the East Coast. So like we're close to, I think they have some in Philly and Boston, and Toronto and MetLife Stadium. And so in New York, which is really, really cool because I mean, the U.S. doesn't get that often. So to have that kind of a level of soccer is really, really cool. So.
And of course, when we have big things going on with soccer, our head men's soccer coach, Ian McIntyre, is out there pushing the great Ian McIntyre. So Jen, I love, we got this email today. Jen, tell everybody what he's doing with us.
Yeah. So it's really cool because obviously right now in college athletics, we don't have any competitions going on. So we're in like the planning phases. So coach came down to my office, and I love Coach Mac. He's awesome. Came down to my office and wanted to know what I thought of his idea about having everybody in the athletic department, head coaches, teams, departments, all be able to do like a blind draw and pick a team for the World Cup and then compete against each other. And then whatever department or person wins, he said he would take them out to lunch. I don't know if anybody really would want to go out to lunch with me, but
I would go out to lunch with Coach McIntyre.
I think that
it would be nice.
A cool prize. And I'm like, oh, I love it. He's like, so you can tell me if it's an average idea or above average idea. And I was like, Coach, I think it's an above average idea. I think it's a really cool, like, culture building, team bonding, like for the whole department to kind of get behind whatever team they blindly draw out of a hat that they get. I got Joseph in my office who wants Portugal, but there's people that I think would really get into it. And I think it'd be really cool to see like our football team get into it, and our basketball teams, and our lacrosse teams, and our field hockey team. And so Coach was like, all right, I'm going to run with this. I think this is going to be so cool. And I'm like,
I think it's going to be awesome. I can only imagine. I know in my office they're all going to yell at each other in the kindest of ways, but it's always like the one thing about working in an athletic setting is everyone's usually pretty competitive.
So, I was just going to say that. Yeah.
It's going to come out. It's going to be like a hallway conversation. There could be flags coming out and jerseys and people just really getting into it. So I do give Coach Mac a lot of credit, because I think he's opening up a world of excitement within the department this coming weeks.
It gives everybody something to root for the next few months. And it's, also just turns people more onto soccer. Like that's, obviously really important for him. And since that's his passion in his life. And so I loved the idea, and I think it's going to be great. And I think everyone's going to get so into it. It was just very funny to hear him talk about it. And he's like, what if Maury gets Ghana? And I was like, then Maury gets Ghana. I don't know.
I'm going to root for them to win. Now, I don't know what the chances are, but we'll root for them.
So I think it'll be really cool. We'll keep everybody updated on how we do and what teams we get. So we'll let you know.
And if Coach Mac was smart, he'd reach out to Ruben and have him market it, and so that everyone would be involved. So that would be the next step. But we'll have Ruben after these messages.
Are you a loyal 5 Tips and Tricks podcast listener? If not, now is the time to start. Get all your info and fun content on the podcast by following us on all our social channels at AthCareerPod. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast is a part of Athletic Career Consulting. Make sure to reach out to us. The one-stop shop for everything is our website, www.athcareer.com. Remember, follow and like us on @athcareerpod, rate and review us, and get all your info at www.athcareer.com. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Maury, would you like to introduce our guest today?
Our guest today earned his bachelor's degree in public relations and political science from SI Newhouse School of Public Communication and the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs at Syracuse University. He went on to complete a master's degree in magazine, newspaper, and online journalism with an emphasis in sports communication, also from Syracuse. His career has taken him across nonprofits, corporate agency marketing, with stops at organizations including PBS, Gilded Society, Syracuse University, and Legends Global, bringing a versatility, result-driven approach to every room he's walked into. Most recently, he served as director of marketing at Syracuse Athletics, where he led the revenue marketing team, driving ticket sales, donor engagement, and commercial growth through paid media, emails, and social. During the same chapter, he also was in the classroom as an adjunct professor at the SI Newhouse School, teaching sports media, esports, and communications to the next generation of strategic communicators. Today, he serves as the director of marketing for Legends Global's partnership with the Cleveland Browns, overseeing marketing strategy for Huntington Bank Field, one of the NFL's most anticipated stadium developments, while leading the team, bringing it all to life. Please welcome Ruben Wright.
Hi, Ruben.
Hi, Ruben.
How's it going? Thank you guys for having me.
Oh, well, thank you for doing this with us. We're really excited.
This is great.
Absolutely.
Especially with hearing all about what you're doing with Huntington Bank Stadium and like being on the ground floor of a whole new operation out there. That's got to be awesome.
Yeah, it's a big time out here. Pretty riveting project. One of the biggest stadium developments in the NFL to date. Obviously, these stadiums keep getting bigger and bigger as they go. We're kind of labeling it. I think that the trademark now is the SoFi of the Midwest. So, it's a
Nice.
$2.6 billion project. Additionally, there's a district attached to it, which brings up to like a $4 billion project. So
Wow.
It's going to be awesome.
Awesome.
That's so cool that you're a part of that. That's so awesome. You're doing great. So
It's
this is
very exciting. Well, with that, let's get to your tips.
Yeah, I mean, I think number one, especially in my world, and both of you know this, and the industry is gone very much towards this. I think a lot of people have to realize that, when you think about marketing, data is one of the most important things. One thing that kind of resonates with me is that data tells you what, but relationships really tell you the why. So like what we mean by that is that your numbers are going to show you, hey, ticket sales dropped or, open rates are this. But really, when we think about the fans, the donors, the sponsors, they're the real reason that they're going to tell you what's the why, right? So those numbers are going to say, hey, we're dipping. But when you actually talk to the fan or you're looking at your comments, you're going out into the community and holding focus groups, they're going to help you understand, what's the real reason things are dropping. So when we think about that, right, what we need to know from that is, don't skip those conversations that could potentially, tell the story of a metric, right? You see a dip in something. How can we learn more about that dip, right? How can we maybe hold a focus group, or how can we analyze the conversations that are happening around that? Because really, once you understand that conversation, you can really then react and, make a strategy or, put something in place to kind of fix that dip, right? We all love to talk about, analytics. We love to talk about data, but we really need to more talk about how can we fix that data that we learn about.
That's so good, because I think, especially in the world today, it's all about numbers. No matter what level of sport you're working in, whether it's in the NFL at your level, at the college level, whether you're a coach or whether you're in marketing, everything is numbers driven. But to kind of understand the relationship with those numbers is really important. You can look at a set of numbers in front of you, but there has to be some more context with it to be able to make the best decisions, I think. So I think that's really good that you say that, because a lot of people are like, well, what's the numbers? What is the survey saying? How many people are coming through the door? What's the attendance? What's the open rates? Like you said, all of those are great, but what's the story behind it? And how do you use that story and the numbers to shape your decisions? I really, really like that.
I like the other idea of like that the numbers are going to be like this crystal ball, or the analytics
Right.
is going to tell you everything. And what you're really
Yeah.
saying is, no, your customer is going to tell you everything. Like they're
Correct.
there, they're the ones that are telling you. And I
Right.
think a lot of people misunderstand the power of analytics and what they can do. And you're making a really good point. Like it all comes back to your customer. It all comes back to relationships. And so, use the analytics, use the data, but you got to use it together. So awesome start.
No,
So good. So good. Yeah. What were you gonna say? We were gonna say something.
no, yeah. I mean, building on that, I think this is the world where we hear about data. I mean, data is around everything, especially in the marketing world. Like that's all you'll hear about. You work with your director of data, work with your managers of data, but really as marketers and as storytellers, it's how can we interpret that data, right? Like we're not in there day to day. Like we understand the looseness of data, right? We can mess around a little in Excel, but really it's us to be given data and then be able to find the answers from it. The answers really are your consumer or the fan that might be actually driven from that data. The numbers are numbers. You have to interpolate and extrapolate from those numbers the actual story.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So good. So
Awesome.
good. All
Okay.
right.
What do we got for number 2?
All right, number 2 is very much focused around campaigns, right? I think a lot of time when people think about campaigns, they're thinking in a different lens. When you build a campaign, you need to think about your fans' journey rather than your content calendar. So what I say with that is that oftentimes it's, hey, we have a calendar in the marketing world that we only send things or we post content Monday through Friday, right? We don't maybe want to do things on the weekend, but we say, hey, on Monday, we have a ticket sales email going out. On Tuesday, we have a know before you go email going out. On Wednesday, we have a donor email going out. And then oftentimes what people will do is say, hey, that means that on Thursday and on Friday, we should do X, Y, and Z. We need to take a step back and really look at, what is going to help the fans' journey. Hey, we have a game on Saturday. Well, we know for sure what the fans are going to need to know is, where am I parking? How do I get into the stadium? Where's the tailgating, right? You need to build your campaigns more around your fan journey. Now that can be them. They've already bought a ticket and they're going to a game, or it can be something where, hey, they're looking to maybe one day go to this game. What's the fan journey building up to a ticket sale, right? How do we educate them maybe about what's going on? How do we then give them a little bit of sampling of, hey, you should go to the quad before this game, or you should go to this tailgating lot, right? Build your campaigns around that fan journey, because that's really what matters, right? Your calendar does not matter at all. You can talk about, hey, yeah, emails do really good on Thursdays or they do really good on Mondays, but really at the core of it, your messaging and your campaigns need to be focused on, hey, when does the fan care about this? The game's on a Friday, so maybe we need to do it on a Wednesday. Okay, well, this week the game is now on a Sunday. Okay, maybe we should move it to a Friday email. Or a social post. So really design your campaigns around your fan journey. Don't design it around this calendar, right? People love to talk about content calendars and email calendars. Focus on the fans first. Don't focus on your calendars.
No,
Yeah, go ahead, Maury. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it makes so much sense because, you have people that say, okay, we got to send it out on certain days, but from like an operations side, you might have some parking logistics that you really don't know about until 2 days out. Now you just send out this whole email about this is what you should do and this is how it should happen. And now you're going to have to re-educate these people because you kind of did it too early because it wasn't about their experience. It was just about getting the information out on a certain calendar. So like to me, from looking at it from that operational side, it's like, yeah, you really do have to make it very applicable to them. And I think that's important about, yeah, you got to plan out, but make sure it fits with what your consumer's trying to do.
I think too with it, it's like you don't want to bombard them with too much. We always say like, yeah, we got the best way to communicate with our fans is through email. The best way, send them an email about this, send them an email about this. Like before long, it's like noise and all they see is an email from the Browns or whatever. And they're like, okay, whoa, that's too much. And then they're not taking in the information that they actually need to get. So you're so right about like serving the fan. When do they want to get it and what do they want to get, all in like a more concise, understandable like form, as opposed to like, here's one information on Monday and then another information on Tuesday and another one on Wednesday and another one on Thursday, another one on Friday. And then you're like, holy crap, like I've just gotten 7 emails and now I'm lost because I don't know which one to look at. So yeah, that's really good. It's more about what they want to intake the fan, and then you're going to be successful, because then you're going to get them what they want. So
No, 100%. I mean, I think too many times we get lost in, maybe the optimization or how things have been done before. Really, at the end of the day, listen to your consumer, listen to the voice that you're talking to. Like they're what matters, right? They're our number one priority, especially in the sports marketing world, right? Like we don't have jobs, so the fans aren't coming to games. So let's cater to them rather than catering to ourselves.
exactly, or to check a box, say you
100%.
did something, So
Awesome. Okay, Ruben, number 3, what do we got?
All right, number 3, we're going to take kind of a little bit of diversion with this. And what I mean with this, I deal very heavily in the paid media space, but I think oftentimes people think paid media is like the end all be all. It solves all the problems. So kind of my tip is that, paid media is great, but if you don't have a retention strategy for these new people you're bringing into your ecosystem, it's really a leaky bucket, right? So we think leaky bucket, right? There's holes in it. That means that they're going to exit very soon after they come into your database, right? So it's awesome to drive traffic. It's awesome to drive leads, right? You could go have $100,000, $200,000 budget, and you're driving all these people, right? They're buying tickets, they're subscribing to email newsletters. But really, if you don't have some type of sequences, right? Whether it's email, whether it's social, whether it's CRM flows, that really kind of indicate touch points, right? They give them some stewardship campaigns. They start talking to them, right? You're acquiring these people that eventually you're going to lose if those aren't in place, right? That's kind of something I think sometimes we lose. It's this idea that, hey, just because I have hundreds of thousands of dollars, that's going to be the awesome thing, right? I think in the marketing world, when we hear paid media, it's like, let's just throw money at the problem and it's going to solve it. It might solve it for a short term, right? You might all of a sudden sell out that one game, right? You have a big game for football coming up, and you sell all your tickets because you've dedicated $50,000 to Instagram, Meta, LinkedIn. But then what about game 2, game 3, game 4, right? You want to convert those people eventually to those other games, right? Those people might buy those tickets. They might enter your journey, but quickly they're going to exit it if they don't feel like they're being nurtured to game 2, game 3, game 4. So I think really when we think about that, right, it's the idea that when you have people coming into your ecosystem from paid media, have follow-up things. That can be email campaigns. That can be the idea of, hey, maybe if someone is a paid media lead, they subscribe to your email newsletter database, immediately after maybe 3 days, they receive an automated email that says, hey, welcome to the database, right? This is X, Y, and Z. And then maybe 7, 8, 9 days later, they have an automated journey to something else, right? Really make sure you're nurturing your database, especially those people that are new to the ecosystem. New people to the ecosystem are the quickest people to exit out of the ecosystem. It's probably some of the best advice I ever gotten.
That's such a good one, because even if they're like a single game buyer, we talk about that, like, okay, like you said, they sold out the big game, and if you just let them hang there and you don't follow up with them and you don't give them anything or do anything or keep them engaged, they're like, okay, I came, I went, I saw, see you later. You got to have them start to be invested right off the bat. So I love that. That's really good. I love that. Try to keep them engaged. That's good.
And you guys would know about this better than I would, but the data shows if you hold on to somebody and you get them in the ecosystem, you have a better chance of actually bringing more people in off of them and the relationships they build. So it's a chain effect. So it is really valuable to invest in those people and to do it, because that means that you have much more opportunity to bring more people in and connect it. And that's why a lot of times these, when things start catching, it can build quicker than other things where you start dripping out. That hole can get bigger and bigger pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want
100%.
a leaky bucket. Leaky buckets.
Exactly.
No. Yeah,
Exactly.
and I think, how you said about like throwing money at like, okay, let's put all this money and it's the short-term fix, when in the end, you want the long-term fix, because then you have those long-term fans, those lifelong fans who you build to keep with you through the good and the bad, and then you nurture them. Oh, you bring their family in and their kids, and it's the whole nurturing process. And if it's just a wham bam quick fix, it doesn't have long-term success with that. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I think we're at number 4.
Yeah, we're crushing it.
We're flying.
We're flying, Ruben. Let's go.
Number four is one that I think is probably going to be true to both your guys' hearts, but also I think a lot of people. And it's the idea that your brand voice. So right, when we think of your brand, that's the company you work for, right? What's your mission statement? Who are you guys, right? If we think of, I guess Syracuse would be a good example, being on this call, right? We think of the Block S. We think of, the pride of the orange, right? That's your brand voice. That brand is really a competitive advantage for you as a marketer. So with that competitive advantage, you have to protect it, right? When we think about athletics, every fan or every team is chasing the idea of attention, right? They want their fans to be engaged, right? They want them at games to participate in trivia. They want their fans to buy merchandise. They want their fans to come to every game, right? That's a constant. It happens at every team. But when we think about it, right? Each single team, each single marketing team, opportunity out there, you have a distinctive tone that you can enable. That distinctive tone is your brand voice, right? In order to use your brand voice, though, you really need to protect it, right? When you're dying behind the hill of this is our mission statement, or this is our brand identity, or this is our colors or our trademarks, you got to use them, right? Put them together to create that, because, well, you might think, hey, this brand is a little tacky, or this voice is, doesn't resonate with the new age fan. There is a fan base out there that is attracted to this because your team has been in operation for, let's say, 175, 50 years, right? There's a reason people are attracted to, we'll use the Cleveland Browns as an example, right? A team that was founded in 1946, right? Their logo, as very ironic, is just a helmet, right? But there's people who are attracted to that brand, so you need to protect it at the end of the day, right? Make it the figurehead of your campaigns. Make sure it's present in organic, it's present in venue. You're walking up to the stadium, you can see banners. You're walking across the concourses, it's a very recognizable thing that's happening, right? Over time, that will also kind of reinforce your brand and help you stick out versus other schools, right? We, at the end of the day, want to be different than every other school. We're all trying to chase the same goal, but how we get there is really the differential of our brand.
I think it's so interesting because so many times people are looking at it and being like, oh, we got to be more like this place because they're doing this. And what you're saying is probably the opposite in many ways, but it is the thing that I find so interesting. And especially, working in a college setting, like you basically, that brand becomes an identity point, right? It's something that you connect to. And everyone feels like they need to make their own mark or needs to like kind of go in their own direction. But at the end of the day, usually what keeps people around or even brings people in is that this sense of community and connection to something. And if you keep moving that and changing it, you lose that connection. And so maybe sometimes instead of having these conversations about, well, this school's doing this or this team's doing this or that, what really is it about us that's going to keep people around and have them connect? And what are the traditions that really connect with people? And how do we build on that? Or how do we like keep or integrate that in more so that people want to connect with it? So it's so interesting because it's very counterintuitive to a lot of ways people actually address like their brand and their identity.
Yeah, I think brand is very tricky for people. Unless you're like the Yankees or the Cowboys, like you have that brand and that's what it is and you stand with it. But a lot of schools, colleges, NFL teams, NBA teams, MLB teams compare themselves to other brands like the Yankees, like the Cowboys, like Alabama, Michigan, whatever. How do we be like them when in reality, they should be asking themselves, how do we continue to be like us? How do we push us? Sometimes it's so simple. And I think people think that there's like this huge answer out in the world of how we make, Syracuse this better brand when we have the Black S, we have the brand. It's leaning into that and making it simple. Like the Black S is everywhere. Like you said, the Black S is everywhere. It's in everything that you're pushing out. It's at the stadium. It's on the uniforms. It's in the merchandise. Orange and blue are our colors. That's what we utilize. And I think people are like, no, we need these kitschy titles and catchphrases and to me, sometimes you don't need that. And that's what you're saying. Like, lean into your brand, protect that voice, and just utilize that. Because across the country and across the world, if you see a black S and it's orange, you know that's Syracuse. You see that helmet and it's orange that's on your shirt, you know that's the Cleveland Browns. You know what I mean? So I think people just have to lean into that. And I think that's what you're saying, which I totally agree with. So
Absolutely. And again, I think the thing is people are always trying to chase, like they see something successful and it's like, hey, we need to chase that. Like, especially in the marketing world, right? That's everything in the marketing world. We love to do that. Let's chase this next thing because it was a trendy thing and it was successful. But really at the end of the day, right, it goes back to the same idea of nurturing a fan, right? Your brand is going to be with you for the next, hopefully 50, 60, 100 years, right? Like that's the goal, hopefully with your organization, your team, that's something that you need to nurture over time. So many people talk about traditions. Traditions, you don't force those, right? Those happen. Those are things that are nurtured and catered over time. Some of the greatest traditions people, see, Tennessee or, Alabama, Penn State, right? We see them, we see great traditions. And immediately a lot of people point to, well, I want to do that. Well, you need to find what tradition within you can become that, right? You can't just force something. Right. So, I think we do that far too many times. And it's something that actually is detrimental to us as well, right? If we can find the things that are, competitive and an advantage for us, that's also going to resonate more with the fan that you have, right? That fan might love the thought process of, we think of Tennessee and Rocky Top, but it doesn't fit with your brand most likely, right? Maybe you're not a Southern school. Maybe you're not an SEC school. It might not fit with the, fan base you have. Maybe your fan base is younger or maybe it's older. So you really need to cater to that.
Absolutely. I love that. So
awesome.
Good.
Great
so
tip.
Good. Absolutely. Okay. I think it's the last one, right, guys? We're on last one. All right, Ruben. So here's the big one. So what do you know now that you wish you knew then? So what do you know now at this point in your career that you wish you knew when you first started?
Yeah, I think this is one that it took me a couple years to realize this. And then it took me a couple more years to really, I would say, nail this down. And it's the idea of relationships move faster than strategy. So I think so many times in the world, especially when it comes to marketing, but it can honestly be applied to any career. When we think of the idea of strategy, that's the end all be all. You need to create the perfect strategy. You need to make sure it, goes off without any hitch. That's going to lead to success. But oftentimes the thing that people don't realize is I could write up the biggest strategy. I could write the most successful strategy. I could be a genius in strategy. But if the people who are also involved in the strategy don't buy into it, it's not going to be successful, right? And immediately when you say that, people often think, okay, so that's them being good at their job. No, that's not at all what it means. What it means is that person from your relationship, you knowing John and John knowing you, do you guys move on the same wavelength? Are you friends? Is it someone that you can Teams, text, email, and they respond 5 minutes later? That's going to cause your strategy to be successful, right? Relationships really are the reason that you're going to be successful in your career, right? Again, relationships means that you get access to things that probably aren't in your job description or don't report to you, right? One thing people don't realize when they get into this world of athletics is that not everyone controls everything, right? Some people control social, some people control email, some people are in charge of in-game. That's 3 different people. All those probably touch your strategy. So really at the end of the day, right, what's the best way to make sure things are happening in part of your strategy in-game or on social or in email? Become friends with that person, right? Make them understand you first on a human aspect and then second on a professional aspect. We always want to start with the human aspect because we're just human, right? We like to talk about things. We like to be friends, right? We like to maybe go grab a drink or just be able to, connect. But then also when we think about the professional aspect, right? Make sure you've built that relationship of they see you as an equal and smart in your career as they see themselves, right? Every single person in this world thinks they're really good at their job. That's not to say something bad about that person, right? Everyone just naturally thinks that they're amazing at their job. They might be, they might not be. But let's get to a situation where we have a professional relationship where we both think, hey, you know what? John, you're doing a really good job at your job. I trust you. So all of a sudden I present, him with a 20-page document on how we're going to do X, Y, and Z for the upcoming football season. And he's bought in, right? He's okay. I see you've assigned me 70 things. Let's say we don't have that relationship prior and I'm not doing that for you, right? I'm walking out the door. I'm throwing your plan in the garbage. I'm going to do it my way. As opposed to, he knows what he's doing, right? First of all, I like him as a personal, right? He listens to me, he interacts with me, but also from a professional aspect, right? He maybe has leaned into me a little bit, right? When I needed something done that's not in his job description, he leaned in to help, or his team helped support, right? That's really how you're going to get your strategy done. And it's something that I wish personally I would have known probably earlier on. I think, now in my career, I've realized, hey, let's really start to cater relationships. Let's really start to nurture them, because really that's going to help you become successful in your career, but also successful in what you're doing at the time, right? A lot of people think success and it's, hey, how do I get to the next job? No, it's also success at the current, task you're doing, right? If the current task is we need to sell out the stadium, a lot of things go into that, right? A lot of different people go into that. And those relationships are going to really help you as well.
Yeah, I love that. People have said relationships before, but how you phrase that of like your strategy and your things that you need to get done to reach your goals are on the same wavelength as relationships. Like those have to go hand in hand to be successful. And that's so true, because a lot of the time you're asking people to help you to do things. And if they don't like you, or they don't know you, or they don't know how you work, they're certainly not going to go the extra mile and help you. So I love how you put those kind of at a parallel, like that they have to work hand in hand. That's really, really good. So good to know.
Ruben, this was awesome. You did a great job. We really appreciate it. And I think you gave some great insight into those people that might not 100% understand the world of marketing and what it takes to get involved with, getting people connected to a sporting a team or getting involved with an institution. So thank you for your time.
It was so good. I mean,
appreciate you guys.
I learned from Ruben every day, and we miss you, Ruben, but we're so happy that you're doing so good. And I think just the insight that you have is so impactful for people. And like I said, I learned all the time from Ruben. So
I appreciate it, guys, and I thank you, and honestly to anyone that listens to this, right? Both Jen and Maury, two of the best in the business, right? Both know their trade, and both have been very much involved in the landscape. They know the in or outs. They've both taught me a lot of stuff, but they're literally the best in the business in what they do. So they're people to learn from.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruben. Thank you very much. And we so appreciate that you did this. This was great, and glad we got to catch up. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening. Make sure you're following us on all your social platforms at @AthCareerPod, and listening on the podcast platforms, and rating and reviewing and commenting and liking and all the things. And make sure you're listening every Tuesday for new episodes. So thank you so much, Ruben, and thanks everybody for listening.
Bye, everybody.
If you like the 5 Tips and Tricks podcast, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. You can rate and review us, including questions that may be answered on future episodes. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast for careers in athletics is part of Athletic Career Consulting. Check us out at www.athcareer.com. Don't forget to follow and like us on your top social media platforms.